Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Graciously Bold Moments. I'm so excited today that I'm joined by one of my favorite human beings, Thato. Thato is the owner and the director of a real estate company. Details coming up now. Stay tuned. Guys, remember that Gorgeously Bold Moments is all about creating moments for our clients, with our clients, and hopefully for the potential clients, So here we are again, creating yet another beautiful moment, very important for us, hopefully important to you too. Thato, darling, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, sister.
Guys, can you see how pretty she is? She is so beautiful. Thank you so much yet again. And you look absolutely beautiful. She's wearing Gorgeously Bold.
But of course.
Hello. And let me tell you something. Gorgeously Bold is her brand of choice. So that really touches our hearts. So the reason we're here with Thato, we want to talk about the real estate business. There's just so amazing things about the real estate business. Okay. And I think for me, what I like the most is the mullahs. the money is, there's this show, a Californian show, I don't know if you've ever seen it or heard of it, is sunset selling or something like that in California. Okay. But it's all about real estate. These people, I promise you, all I saw was just glam, beauty, and millions. At some point I'm like, how do I get into this? Is that really the case though? Is that that much glamorous, that much wealth in this business?
Sure, Sister. I'm not sure about the glamour.
Yeah.
But obviously behind the scenes, I'm sure it's not as glamorous. It's messy and
like, I think like many other things, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Sleepless nights. Yeah. But for sure, once you have that $1 million listing, or in our case, that $1 million rent listing, what people see is then the glamour, right? But there's definitely a lot of hard work that goes before that listing, because you'll find that with the show, they've been working on that listing for 5 years, even 6 years. It was 6 years in the making, but then what we see is the glory. Yeah. But we don't see.
When you say a listing for 6 years, can you like really sell a house for 6 years?
No. I mean, you're the seller and the agent. We're talking. Yeah. I know at some point you're gonna leave maybe California, you're moving to Las Vegas. Yeah. Or you're leaving Gauteng, you're going to Cape Town. Yeah. So for the 6 years, I'm keeping in touch with you. We're talking. Yeah. So it's a listing in the making. Then 6 years later, that's what we as viewers see on the show. Yeah. Is the 10 million rent listing, but we don't know that it took time to get to that point.
Yeah. Guys, you guys have to watch the show. Here I am promoting it. It is absolutely crazy. When I say crazy, beautifully crazy, I mean the women are crazily beautiful. They dress beautifully. It's a different lifestyle altogether, and the money, of course. Anyway, so what I wanted to also find out, like the process of becoming a realtor in South Africa. What's the process like? What does one have to do? Let's say, for instance, there's someone out there who actually wants to get into this business. What processes do they have to follow?
Sure. So right now, the real estate industry is governed. There is a governing body called the EAAB. It's the Estate Agency Affairs Board. 7 years ago, before I entered the industry, maybe 8 years ago, you could just wake up one morning and decide that, you know what, I want to sell homes. Yeah.
And you could.
You could.
Just like that.
Right?
Oh, wow.
So that has changed over the years. It is now considered, it is a profession. And I think that's a lot of misconception around the real estate sector, is that, it's an industry that people get into because they're bored or because their careers have failed and they don't take it seriously. So now this governing body requires one to be fully competent and qualified to be a real estate agent rather. So it can take about 3 to 4 years, right? So firstly and foremost, you need to be an intern. So whether you have an MBA next to your credentials or your doctor, a PhD, you still need to go through the process, like the logbook process, which is like a 12-month mandatory process. Then after that, obviously, you need to write the board exams. Okay. There are some professions that you exempt from doing some of the PDEs, but the board exams are again compulsory regardless of your current profession.
Yeah.
And then you do need to show that you need to do practicals, so that you can do under a qualified realtor like myself, which we're called principals. And then after that you can write your board exams, and then when you pass, you'll have.
So it's not as easy as people make it out to be, because I must say I was also one of those people that. So, because the reason I thought like that you could just wake up one morning and become, because a couple of years ago I was approached by this lady, I won't mention her name. She runs one of the successful real estate agencies here in Midrand. And she asked me if I wanted to, but then it was not as exciting as it seems now, because the misconceptions that I had was like it's an old person type of work, like when you don't have anything else to do, go sell houses, But now I see, I mean, I have so much respect for this. Money is amazing. I love money. I love money. But because I work hard for my money, so anything for me that the rewards are excellent and huge, like why not, So the other thing that I also see is, in fact, my husband has a cousin who is in this business.
Okay.
Almost every weekend he's going to show off, to show a house and whatnot, But I'm just wondering, for a female, I mean, what are the risks that come with showing houses to strangers? Because potentially people that you speak with, or the clients that you sort of like get, whether over the phone, word of mouth, they are strangers. You don't know them. I mean, what processes precautions rather that you take to ensure like safety when you're showing off houses to the people?
Sure, that's a really important point. And I don't even think when we're in the zone we are thinking that way, but we had to be extra vigilant, obviously, because as also with COVID, before I could just run out. You get a call, you run out. But I think with experience, also safety precautions, we vet most of our clients before we go for viewings. So before I go on a viewing, my office would know who I'm having the viewing with. What are their, ID numbers, if need be.
Is it criminal checks that you
exactly.
do also?
Yes, we do. But obviously, we get the consent from the potential either tenant or buyer, and especially with empty houses. So there was an incident several years ago. It was a vacant property. So, unfortunately, in the country that we live in, there are people who are in the business of scouting and seeing how they can, take an advantage of a situation. So it was an empty apartment, and myself and my mentor at the time were at this residence. So it was a safety issue, but since then, some agencies have developed an app. It's like a panic button, so that when you feel that you're in danger, you can click the panic button. But mostly for properties that are tenanted or they're occupied, it's not that much of a risk factor, especially if it's in an enclosed estate. But if it's a standalone house, if it's a vacant land, if it's a commercial building, always let people know where you are, who you're with, most importantly.
Or go with someone rather.
Exactly. And that's why some agencies do encourage partnerships in their businesses, so that you're always with somebody.
I think that's good. I really think that partnership, I think it's far better. Listen,
but you're also sharing your money in a partnership.
That's so cool. But so what are the other? Oh no, sorry. I actually wanted to go back to what you just said about like vetting people. So would you have instances where a potential buyer would reject a decline to be vetted?
Yes.
And what do you guys do?
It happens a lot. For me, I feel that if you are a serious buyer, you're in the market,
you wouldn't have a problem with that.
You would have a problem. You always need to know your financial status, right? You need to know how much you qualify for, because sometimes we are viewing a property that is worth $1 million and you qualify for 5. Do you know what I mean? So to not waste my time and your time, let's know where you are. Or sometimes people don't even know that their credit is bad. So it gives me an opportunity to say, did you know there is a judgment, and they're able to fix it before we even continue. So for me, if it's people who are serious and who really are in the market, they wouldn't have a problem. But yes, there've been declines, upfront declines, and then then we don't hold those viewings.
Speaking of credit scoring, I'm sure this is an issue that has affected a lot of people, me included. I was telling you a little earlier that the credit score has declined since we moved from the shop and all. What advice can you give to us that wish to rectify the credit scores and hopefully get bigger, whatever, new houses, and what steps can one take to, because it's really not a nice thing to always be declined because of your credit score.
And as you're not the only one. If not all of us have been impacted, especially with COVID since last year. So my advice is, it's always good to know again your status before you even go and apply, because obviously if you apply, you get declined over and over. That does have an impact on your credit rating. So especially if you're looking for a home, I always suggest that you partner up with a bond originator. We work with amazing ones who can look at your profile and then see what is it that you can fix, so that when we do go and apply for that home, you know exactly where you are. Some of them are brilliant. They'll tell me and my clients up front that it's going to take 6 months for us to fix this. So we take the time, we do due diligence, right? We work on it for 6 months. Then we know that when you are looking for that dream home, it's just a matter of finding the dream home and not really doing the paperwork. And that's what a lot of people do. They find the home or the dream home, then they go start the process, and by then I think it's a little bit too late. So just being proactive. And for me, I know it's difficult, but saving a little bit, just so that you can have money for those transfer costs, money for that little deposit, because banks are also becoming super stringent. They are scrutinizing each and every application, so that when that time comes, even if you're not putting 5%, 10%, because none of us have that money right now.
None of us have.
But if you show the bank, like, listen, I'm not looking for 100% bond, right? I'm looking for 99%. That 1% shows a level of commitment and seriousness, and that would really aid us, in finding those dream homes in the future.
That's a brilliant one. But do we still have banks do we have moments where banks actually give 100% loans?
Yes. Yes. Especially for first-time home buyers. I have seen one a couple of weeks ago where it's not even non-South African citizens, non-ID holders. The couple, both of them, and they got 100% bond grant, but their credit was squeaky clean.
But that can also be a problem, right? If it's squeaky clean.
Yes.
Because I've heard that before, for instance, my daughter has never really worked, and she's now starting to get into the working industry here and there, and she wants to apply for whatever, and then they said, no, you don't have something about your credit score not being active.
Yes, you don't have any debt, so the banks can't know whether to trust you or not. So I always say, even if you're having a jet account where you're buying,
so that helps.
Yes, because it shows you are in the system. ITC has picked you up, and they're able to track your payment history. That is important. So not having any credit at all and just being also all cash is also not good.
Now we know.
Ironical, right?
So cash is not always the same. Sometimes get yourself in a little bit of a crazy situation, and
unless you're buying the house cash, that's always king in that instance.
Oh man, the people have money out there. Are there people that actually buy houses cash? I know they are.
Yes,
I know they are.
Believe it or not, yes, they are.
Where are you people? The other thing that is of interest to me was we spoke about Actually, I think I asked you this a few days ago when you were here. Well, I don't know, or maybe it was in my mind that I'm seeing a lot of reality TV shows on everything. From the housewives of different areas, the reality show of real estate. People are basically displaying the kind of work that they're into. Is this something that you would consider doing in the future if anybody ever came and said, come, we want to work with you on a reality show around this? I think you should.
I think that would be amazing. I actually shared with you that my mentor, when I first entered the industry, there is a real estate show that is coming up. I'm not gonna obviously advertise it. And it's cool, and I think that will invite people into our world, because at times you're only viewing with a person for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That's the only thing they see. But they don't see the behind the scenes. How do we get our listings? How are we negotiating when you told me you're putting an offer of 100,000, not a cent more, and I am bargaining on your behalf with the seller? How do we do that? And also just not the glamorous part, you know, when clients are being extremely difficult. And especially, I do rentals as well, just seeing the drama behind the tenants. I'm sorry.
I think it would be cool. Like, I honestly think that it would be cool. The reason I'm saying this, I mean, thank God to lockdown. Yes, lockdown came with a lot of negative things, but the beautiful thing that came with the lockdown thing is we were, because we spent so much time at home, people became extremely creative. There was so much that we could see online, on TV and whatnot. So this is what I'm saying, like a reality show of your industry, especially you as a woman, perhaps with the other groups of women. But for me, I feel like when we understand what happens in the background of any other industry, whatever industry the person is in, it's always like very interesting, because we always get the front part of the inside of things, you know. So yeah.
And I also
hopefully
think
somebody's out there listening.
Yes.
You know.
And I also think when it comes to, so now I'm talking to landlords and sellers, when it's time to pay that professional fee. So sometimes it actually just happened where a property goes online on Sunday, Monday evening at 6 p.m. I have an offer. To the seller, it's like, Thato, you did no work. But they don't know. So when it's time to pay, they say, why do you want this much? You didn't do the work.
Of a few hours.
But before I even listed their property, I had a database. I had people that I've been talking to that I knew want that property. So to them, it's, you just listed and you just sold. Like, why do you want this percentage for a 30-hour job? But it's not. So that will, again, invite people into our world so they can see that I'm constantly working. You're sleeping, I'm working. You know what I mean? To get you a buyer under 30 hours.
And for them, it's like, no, man, we just listed this. And not knowing that you actually have work. You know, you have your database, you have people that you've contacted, and they found the matching client for your house.
Yes, absolutely.
Guys, so the other thing I was actually thinking about a little earlier on is, how do you, in fact there's two questions, like, the evaluation of houses, is it the banks that does it, or is it, how involved are you as a realtor in the evaluation of the house? And the second one is, have you ever had clients, or rather what do you do where the seller wants to sell their houses at a far higher price than what their house is valued at? And how do you sort of like, because I would imagine that it would be a bit of a messy situation if the seller wants to sell at a certain price and you're like, no, calm down, it's not it. How do you resolve that?
Okay, so in terms of the valuation, there's two types of valuation. Well, there's municipal valuations. Okay. So, there's municipality sends out people so they can value the house for rates purposes, right? Okay. Because those change annually. But then there's also the valuation of the house where, and I think the best people to do that job are agents who are active in the market of a particular area, because you'll know that if house A and house B are apples and apples, you'll know more or less where it goes. You've studied you've done the market analysis of that area, so you would know, to a T how much a house should be. And then also there is, so coupled with the real estate sector, there's also a valuation sector. They go hand in hand, but that's a totally different industry altogether. And in that valuation, you're not only doing residential valuations, you're doing valuations for commercial space, you're doing vacant land valuations, and also farm valuations. I think I told you when I was here last that I'm actually a candidate valuer, but that's also governed by a totally different body, but they go hand in hand. So if you've got valuators who always know what are the market comparables and market related prices, coupled with the agents, at any given time we know how much a property should cost, right? And then to answer your question regarding the whether where the sellers have a particular price. I think every seller does. People buy a home, and what I always tell my clients is that don't ever overcapitalize. So you'll get that you buy a home in a estate where the average prices are 1.5 million, for example. Then you go in there, you have all the bells and whistles, you build your dream house in this particular estate, and then now your house is worth 8 million. When it's time to sell, you want your 8 million because you
put... the area is something else.
Exactly. So location, I can't stress that enough. I'll be honest, when I started in the industry, I'll have a seller who has this price in mind. And they'll say, you know what, I want my house to be listed for 8 million. I'll take the listing. And then it will sit on the market.
And you would know that it's not realistic.
Yes, and I know it will not sell. It will sit and sit and sit. And when it's like that, then you are not getting the house sold. I'm not getting paid.
He's getting frustrated. It's thinking that you're not doing your job.
Exactly. But now with experience, there are some sellers that you can sit down with them, and then you can go through the prices. You can tell them, go through the market analysis, show them the comparables in the area. Yes, not every house is identical, but if you're in the same estate, around the same stand size, the same house, but then obviously your finishes are different, there can be obviously differences in price. It's not going to be the exact price, but if it's worth 1.5 and you want 8 million, we both know that that's never going to sell. And then it also depends why, the motive behind why the person is selling. And I always ask that. Sometimes it's too personal, because when I understand the why, I know whether you just want to test the market.
But does it really matter why?
Yes, because if you are selling because you have to sell, when we go through the pricing together and I say this is what it will sell for, which it does happen, and you're a serious seller, it will go. Some people just want to test the market, see, can I make a 2 million rand profit?
So those ones that are wanting to test the market, let's say you want them to test the market and eventually they get an offer, do they eventually sell or they don't?
Some of them do, if the price is really, it blows their mind, and some of them will come up with excuses and they will take it off the market.
And they wasted your time.
And money.
I guess there's always the good and the bad to every situation. So for our viewers, our gorgeously bold clients and potential clients and everybody else that tunes into this channel, people that are keen on becoming realtors. So some people are called real estate agents and realtors. So
well, let's say it depends which country you're in. Here they call them real estate agents. There's some who want to be called property professionals, property consultants. But it's all in all, we're all realtors. Serving the real estate agency sector. I'm gonna go back to what we spoke about. We spoke about when you writing your exams, or in the process of writing your exams, or when you've passed your exams, I can't quite remember, you become an intern, right? So how long then do you become an intern? Is it about 24 months? No, the intern, it's 12 months.
12 months.
Yes.
And then after the 12 months, can you then become your own independent...
No, so after an intern, you then have to... There's a portfolio of evidence that you have to do throughout the 12 months. Then after that, your principal, your mentor will have to sign it off to say yes, whatever it is included, that portfolio of evidence is indeed true. Then you have to submit it to the Estate Agency Affairs Board, who will deem you competent to go and sit for the board exam. After a series of board exams, you'll have to write your NQF4 and QF5, PDE4, PDE5. Then after that, once you've passed, you can be then your independent, or some people you can join a franchise or purchase a franchise, because you'll then be on principal status.
All of that happens in the space of how long? The exams and the internship, and
it depends whether you have the time. And obviously they cost money to write those exams. Some people, it can be 3 months. Some people take 7 months. And then I also know people who have been in the intern state for 10 years and more.
The reason I'm asking this, because I can imagine that it's not everybody that likes to work for people. We have people that are naturally independent and whatnot. So the idea of when you're becoming a real estate agent and thinking that you're gonna just start working by yourself. That's definitely not the case. I also had that idea. Thank you for clarifying that. For us, do you see why we always have to tune into gorgeously bold moments? We learn new things all the time. So when we took a break, we spoke about the different professions, that not the, what's the word that I'm looking for? No, English. I'm looking for, the professions that we know, like becoming the teacher, becoming the lawyer, the doctor, the actuaries, the accountants, and we know back in the years, those were the ones that we would look up to. I mean, if your parents don't tell you to become a lawyer, then you're going to become a doctor, whatnot. The world has shifted. There's just so many beautiful professions, so many artists, people are making money with like different ways,
yes.
And like now we're talking about real estate business. And remember the myth that I also had, that it used to be a profession of, I'll see old people back in the years, like if you don't have anything to do with your time, whatever, they've retired, go sell a house. But then obviously the narrative has now changed. That's not true. It's a profession to be respected and adored and admired by many. I mean, me included, because I love the money.
Yes.
So what has been some of your experiences around that perception of your industry?
I did mention to you earlier. For me, again, I've always known that I wanted to be in real estate.
Yeah.
I've always loved anything brick and mortar.
Yeah.
I love interior decor. So at the back of my head, I always thought that I'm going to wake up one day and then have money and then become this property guru, right? So it was.
And it shall happen.
Yes.
You are already there.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I did share with you that when I first entered the space, nobody knew. Mm-hmm. So my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was the only person who knew. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't know. Mm-hmm. And when they finally found out that I've left my corporate job to become a real estate agent, they fell off their chairs, literally. They couldn't believe I left corporate.
Like you're throwing your future away.
You know what I mean?
And you want to tell us that you want to sell houses.
Yes, and I think every day I'm out there, I'm changing the narrative. There are people who have were shook that of my background experience. So I was an accountant by profession. They are blown out of their minds to learn that that's what I was doing for 10 years. And then I left there to come and sell homes. So I think to a certain extent they take me seriously. And
do you think they take you serious because you, by profession, you are an accountant? Just you shifted from being an accountant. Had it not been that you had a title an accountant, do you think people would not take you seriously?
I think also in how I conduct myself, most importantly, and my business, I am professional. And I think I'll have to give that back to the corporate world. Yeah. So just how I present myself overall, and I add a little bit of what's the word?
Yeah. It sometimes runs.
I think when I come in interaction with my clients, I know what I'm talking about. It's not something that I just woke up doing. I studied. I got the credentials and also experience in the sector, and I think that's why they take me seriously.
So now, we are about to close off. But what's important for me is we've shared this moment. Maybe let's share with the young ones, or not even the young ones, people that are wanting to get into this industry that have questions or they need direction or inspiration. I hope that you were inspired enough. What advice can you give them, the ladies, guys that are wanting to follow in your footsteps?
Sure. You must love it. I think it's a passion-driven industry. I wouldn't be doing it today if I didn't love it. I'm passionate about it. I don't dream in color, I dream in houses. I dream for real. Oh, wow. I love it, and it's one of those things where I feel that I should have done it. I shouldn't have gone into accounting, for example, because that's 10 years of my life where I could have added in the space. So passion, love it. Yes, the money is good, but it takes time. It takes lessons, sometimes difficult lessons. But also, I always, back in the day, I think when I was entering the corporate world, I used to shadow people a lot. So before you decide this is what I want to do, shadow somebody who does it on a regular basis. Ask any real estate agency, can you come and intern for them for 3 months? Then you get to see behind the scenes, day to day, of what it takes to become a successful agent. Then after you've done that, put your CV together and approach a real estate agency, a firm, and ask them if you can come and intern for them. And just like anything, in time, you'll know whether this is what you're called to do. And I would also do my research before, just find out what are the processes to become a fully fledged agent, the costs associated with that, even though I know there are firms that will do it for free, as an incentive, just so that you get fully qualified. But it's a thrilling industry. I love it.
What are some of the things that you don't really crazy about in this in your work?
Well,
if you can share, you don't have to.
Well, no. It is an industry where you're working with people every single day, and we all know that people come from different spheres of life, and they are different colors.
Can you say how?
There are different characteristics, so it is a people's business. And some people can be not pleasant to work with. That's just the reality. And then you need to, just roll with the punches. You'll get amazing, fantastic clients. Some of them will be not so good. You'll want to quit and cry, which it happens to me till today. But then I think with time you learn. So there's, for example, there's some clients that I say thank you, but no thanks.
I wanted to actually ask you that.
I don't take every mandate, every listing. I don't. I don't. So but again, you learn that as you go. But I say to all those who are interested in the real estate sector, please do come. We need, I think, more women. We need more black women. Listing guys. Yes, just to, like you say, change the narrative, and we need to be the change makers in this industry. And any questions, I'll be happy to take. They can through you to your website.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thato, thank you so much for being here with us. I mean, there is so much to learn, so much information that she's willing to share with you. Please remember to comment on the comment space. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and share, hit the bell, and we're going to have Thato's details on the screen. Please look out for them. Reach out to her if you want to sell your house or
rent house, vacant land.
Hello, all of it. So her details are there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's connect again.